YouTube says it has had enough of vaccine misinformation on its site.
And false stories from phony sites to run circles around major news outlets.
Many people don't know the difference between something real and something created to deceive them.
Open your eyes.
If you've ever had this feeling that something was terribly wrong with the world that we live in, but you couldn't figure out just what it was, then you've come to the right place. Secret societies, mystery religions, and the Illuminati have been controlling our reality since the beginning of time. But not anymore, because there is an awakening happening, and you are about to become a part of it. Wake up, because this is a call for an uprising.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. Look at this story. You starting to see why channels like this get shut down? You see the narrative behind these stories? Now, it doesn't mean that these stories are real, because obviously a guy posting that he's going to give away free PlayStations in less than 48 hours in Union Square, New York, and somehow thousands of people end up showing up, and they don't just show up for PlayStations, they decide to show up and throw fireworks at the police, swing axes, and all types of violence, which shows you that, of course, it's a government planned thing, but there's an agenda behind it. So you see where these things go and how they connect. What's the connection? Well, just imagine that I said that I was going to gather people to protest peacefully in New York City, and I have hundreds of thousands of subscribers. What do you think they're going to do then? Huh? Well, they've got to make sure a channel like me doesn't have 100,000 subscribers, 500,000 subscribers, and especially not 1 million subscribers, because otherwise people may actually gather together to stop what's occurring. So they create events like this and say that social influencers are wielding too much power. Social influencers, and not that I consider myself one, the word makes me cringe, but people online who have followings or people who watch their content is really the way that I put it. They use influencers because those people, that's their job, is to influence people's behavior. Okay, that's done by design. That's why all these stupid things constantly get promoted on social media and YouTube especially, and TikTok, etc., over and over again to dumb down society. But people like me, well, we're the threat. People like you, you're the threat. And this is about the right to assemble. Who can assemble and who can't? Who can assemble online and who can't? And I'm going to get into that in a second. I want to remind everybody I have 3 channels that I'm uploading on daily. So if you missed this content, you haven't seen it, or you like to listen to my content, whether it's every day or here and there, I highly recommend you pause the video now and you subscribe to the links below. There's 3 channels. Make sure you sub to all 3. I've been wiped out over and over. I don't have to prove that at this point. I know most of you know it. I know most of you have done it. So I thank you for doing that. The rest of you, please do me a solid favor. If you want this content, please subscribe to those other channels so I can focus on uploading there. But I know more and more people are finding this channel and looking for me. So that's where I am. If you haven't found it yet, sub to those channels now, pause the video. And again, if you haven't joined the website at callforanuprising.com, that's where I post my exclusive content. That's where I share things that they won't let me share here on YouTube that automatically get strikes. My deleted videos are over there. New content about the things going on in the world that actually matter are over there. Real news, real information. It's not just from my mouth. It's from other people. Because the people over there in the forum are sharing real news, real information, real things that are happening in their day-to-day life. Real channels that, you know, from BitChute or other places that they're posting and sharing their own videos. So there's so much sources over there. So many sources, over there. As well as what people are seeing in their own stores, their own grocery stores. Bizarre things, bizarre symbols that they're seeing on packaging. I mean, you name it. They're uploading it over on the website so people can become aware. You should become aware too. It's $2.99 a month. It's the price of a cup of coffee a day. That's to manage the website, run the website, keep the website troll-free, most importantly. The fee keeps people off the site. Trust me, the amount of trolls that I've had, and I don't care about trolls as far as saying what they want. They can say whatever they want. Trolls as far as obsessing over me, posting things, reporting me to YouTube, being the 1984 police, those types of things I have to avoid because they will just sit there day and night. Most of these people don't have jobs and don't have lives and are really obsessed with me. It's just really scary. So there's a fee for the site. The site has no ads. It runs free. It's the price of pretty much a bottle of water a month. Run bottle of water, $2.99. And speaking of water, I have a video up over on my other channel you should probably check out since people suddenly are dying and dropping dead from drinking water. That's right, insane stuff. So sub to those channels now, join the website if you haven't, and thank you to everyone who already has. Get a load of this story and start connecting the dots, right? I always talk about you have to see a pattern in these stories. There's an underlying pattern in all of it. And there's a story out there about a YouTuber, or a YouTuber, Twitch streamer, big time Instagrammer, in other words, a social media influencer who has been charged with inciting a riot because he was having a giveaway in Union Square in New York City, which I'll show you in a second. But think about these narratives now. This is going to bring in more control over social media and who can be social media, quote unquote, influencers and who can't. Now, the whole term influencer drives me nuts, but that is what these people are. Now, I started a YouTube channel to get people aware of what's going on. I don't consider myself one, but anyone out there that they think has the ability to draw a crowd, which I'm sure I could have at some point a couple years ago or even a year ago, they will shut down and they will deem them a dangerous threat, that they need to be monitored. Everything these people say need to be shut down unless it's state, it's coming from the state. All right. And of course, they need these social media influencers, a lot of them probably like this guy, because this is probably a planted story, to be out there to influence the behavior of all these millennials and Gen Z people. And that's what they do. They influence stupid behavior, which is done by design. A dumbed down society ends up being a society that's easily herded, and a society that's, could be herded towards one another and restless towards one another instead of government and not understanding of what's actually going on. So I believe this is actually one of the reasons I have been shut down. I mean, another YouTuber has been shut down over and over again. It's stories like this. And this isn't the only story. That's why I'm covering it. I'm covering it because in France, all the riots going on there, they also have talked about, Macron has talked about social media being responsible for the riots and the organizing of riots. These are the key words: being able to organize and influence and then make protests and create these types of things. And the government needs to step in and make sure this doesn't happen. And what they're really fearful of is people like me and you getting together and actually doing something about what's going on in our society, not about giveaways of boom boxes and all this. And the behavior you see in this video, this is all obviously done by design. These large YouTubers and stuff that do these types of things, I don't even know if they can garner this much attention as far as people, going to the streets for free Xboxes. Maybe they can. But the behavior, that part of it, right? People rioting, people jumping on things, tearing things down, done by design. These are different ways, just like BLM, to influence the people out there to think that we need more regulation over behavior, thus more regulation over the internet and what we can and can't watch. So here's the story. Take a look at what happened in New York.
On Friday, we will be doing a huge giveaway.
With those few words and a flyer with the location, word spread among the millions of subscribers. Attendees told they'll get PCs, PS5s, and $100 gift cards.
We gonna go crazy for New York, man.
It's really an influencer's world, and we're just living in it.
Washington Post tech columnist Taylor Lorenz knows it's something we'll all have to get used to, but says there's a much better way for influencers with millions of followers to get to meet their fans, using permits and possibly a cap for the amount of fans who can snag a freebie.
You have to have an RSVP system, ideally, because if you have millions and millions of followers online, you just say, hey, anybody come. You yourself don't know.
We went from 300 kids to a couple of thousand kids in minutes. We have to be responsible when we use this tool.
No permits were obtained for Friday's giveaway at Union Square Park. NYPD Chief Jeffrey Madry says its entertainment unit, which keeps an eye on events like this spreading through social media, was aware of the event, but not of its potential growth.
If we knew about this, we could have had the barriers out here, we could have police officers out here, we could have did this orderly.
Sanat now faces several charges, including at least 2 counts of inciting a riot and unlawful assembly. With millions of followers across all social media platforms, including Twitch, the 21-year-old has grown in popularity.
There's a team of people around influencers like this that really handle their business affairs, handle their public events, handle their press. I think those people, the buck falls with Kai, sure, but I think those people are to blame as well.
So again, like I said, this is the narrative that we're starting to see. We saw this in France. We saw this, that Macron came out and said that we need to monitor and be able to edit and stop people on social media who are saying, go here, meet there, right? They fear that. They fear that. They fear an actual, ironically, uprising from actually occurring. Because again, there's more people out there than there are them. So they will create things like this to seed plant people into more rules and laws being put into place to prevent that from happening. They'll actually probably call people who try to get people to gather and protest terrorist threats based on their ideology. So if I decided that I wanted to get, I don't have much reach anymore, but say 100,000 subscribers, say I was able to get 10,000 people to go to YouTube headquarters and just protest peacefully about free speech, maybe embarrass them a little bit. Oh, the police would be there in 5 seconds, would be arrested as domestic terrorists, right? Just for defending our own rights, let alone what we saw on January 6th. These controlled events are all about controlling behavior, but also you look at January 6th and where we've come from since that fake event. We've seen this happening all around the world where these riots are occurring. Whether they're riots started by our own government or not, the influencers are also working for the government to create these types of things so that it's problem, reaction, solution. Social media influencer Kai Cenat, I don't know how to say it, but has been charged with inciting a riot and unlawful assembly. So that's a key term, unlawful assembly. After thousands-strong crowds gathered in Union Square, New York, as you saw, for a giveaway, leaving dozens of people arrested and several police officers injured. So the guy, this is how you know these things are psyops, right? You're giving away Xboxes, you're giving away free things, and then it turns into a thing against the police and also, all sorts of stuff that we've seen at these other events, like destroying property, public property, right? Or I should say government property, destroying parks, destroying, blocking the streets. This is done obviously by design. It's so easy to see. So Cenat, who has over 4 million followers on YouTube, over 5 million on Instagram, and 6.5 million on Twitch, said during a Wednesday Twitch stream that he'd be hosting a huge giveaway Friday at 4 in Union Square Park. In the stream, he said he would be giving away computers, PlayStation 5s, microphones, keyboards, webcams, chairs, headphones, gift cards, blah, blah, blah. So that's a giveaway right there. Just because you say on, he's got the amount of people who listen to your channel, as far as subscriptions, isn't a huge thing based on how many people watch each video or look at each post. So even if this guy was to get 2 million views per video, to be able to get that many people in New York City to show up there, think about how many radio stations have free giveaways and things like that. Right? Most people are just like, oh, all right, whatever. If they're around the area and there's a giveaway, they're like, maybe I'll stick around and see if I can win a raffle or something like that, right? But in 2 days, to get that many people to show up in New York for free PlayStations and things like that just shows you that would mean that a large percentage of people would have to be, one, living in New York, and two, have nothing to do on a Friday at 4 o'clock, which means they don't have jobs, which I'm sure most of these people don't have jobs, especially the people who follow these types of influencers, because of course these influencers tell these people that they're entitled, that the system is the reason they're not succeeding. These people are just constantly distracted, constantly need to be entertained, have no work ethic, have no real education. They have a fake education on the world, and that education is obviously all from state-run media, state-controlled public school systems, etc., and state flow information, of course, which means, people like us who try to get real info out constantly get shut down. So these things, I believe, are created by design, and we're obviously seeing this, like I said, around the world. France with the same thing, with the riots were being blamed on social media. So this means more regulations on what can and cannot be said. So people began gathering at the park around 3, according to the NYPD chief, Jeffrey Madry, said at one of the 2 news conferences, soon the park and the surrounding streets were overrun with people obstructing traffic. We went from 300 kids to a couple thousand of kids in minutes. So that just shows you it's very hard to organize. It's very hard to get a lot of people to something, and usually you need a lot of time. So a lot of these protests or these marches or these walks that you see, like the Women's March, they announce these things 8 months in advance so that people can take off work, for people could fly in from around the country. This would mean that all these thousands of people would have to be people who follow this channel in New York, who have nothing to do, who want to be a part of this, and on the top of it, wouldn't just want to show up for free PlayStations. Take that part of it out. Maybe if you want to say, oh, well, maybe there are that many people that want to show up for free stuff. Well, why are all of them being reckless if he's not inciting reckless behavior? If he's not sitting there going, let's jump on crap, is it making them chaotic that he's giving things away? I mean, I know those towers all around the cities are causing people to lose their crap because it's all going right to their heads. And of course, mix that in with another thing that's going on in their bodies. Well, that could make people turn into mutant zombies. But let's be realistic about the messaging behind these stories. And this, again, is about massive censorship. So they went from 300 to a couple thousand. The crowd spurred to activate a level 4 response, its highest level of disaster response. So think about that. Level 4 response. Like September 11th, like level 4 response. This guy giving away free boomboxes. I know boomboxes don't exist anymore, but whatever, you get the point. Free MP3 play, whatever people listen to music on. iPads, iPods, right? Level 4 response, the same as like a terrorist threat, right? So what are they saying? Well, we can't have this stuff happen. We can't have people online doing this type of stuff. They're garnering crowds. They're getting people there. They're unlawfully assembling, right? We start bringing that term back in. Then what is lawful assembly versus unlawful, right? What's peaceful protest, which we see the lines drawn there. Peaceful protest versus non-peaceful protest. How much stuff do we see going on with who's allowed to protest and who isn't? How many people outside of centers for Planned Parenthood who are reading scripture who are getting arrested, or people walking around reading the Bible who are getting arrested? We see it all over, trends everywhere. You know, I know it's all over alt-right media. So people see that that's actually going on. So they're going, why can't we protest? Then we see these other maniacs walking around, tucking something between their legs, pretending there's something they're not, and punching people in the face. And they get away with it. They don't even get arrested. So again, that also ties into the rules for me, not for thee. So who can assemble? We need rules and laws in. So who they deem a threat will not be allowed to assemble people. They'll be arrested on the spot, whether it's a peaceful protest or not, which would be people like me. But obviously I don't have reach anymore. So they go on to say you have people walking around with shovels, axes, and other tools from the construction. Individuals were also lighting fireworks, throwing them towards the police. They were throwing them towards each other, right? I mean, so you take the whole notion of BLM and all these other riots that we know the government started. And instead of them going, well, okay, who's the actual guy behind it? Like, oh, you know, it's this group. It's BLM. It's the group. Even though all those stories made no sense, and it just proved that there was just agents involved. Now you're looking at social media influencers. Now we're talking about what and who needs to be monitored and deemed threats, and who can assemble, who can protest, who has a right to be, who's a threat. When this guy just went out there and said he was giving things away, and people are wielding axes. People are lighting fireworks and throwing them at police. So nobody who went there was like, yeah, it's probably a bad idea to throw a firework at a cop. I might end up in jail. You know, I just came here for a free PlayStation, right? Or maybe I should wield an axe. That's not a dangerous weapon. But we'll take everyone's guns, by the way. But I'll wield an axe. Huh? None of these people think. So these stories are out there by design, on purpose. They gaslight people. They use stories like this, and they get people to see what's going on. They get problem, reaction, solution in place, but they also start to gain control subconsciously over people's minds about dangerous threats. And suddenly people like me and you become dangerous threats in the mind of civilians, where it used to be, oh, what's that guy doing? Remember, it just started, it was like, oh, that guy's just got a YouTube channel, he's just talking about stuff. Who cares? He's not hurting anyone. Is he taking it to the streets and done something? Like, no. Then it was like, oh, well, they're peacefully protesting. Oh, okay, they're just peacefully protesting. What's the big deal? They just have signs. Then it turned into, oh, the stuff they're yelling while they're protesting is hurting people's feelings. That's not peaceful protest. That's hate protest. Do people see where this is going and the government control that we're giving while we all fight amongst each other? Apparently not. So this looks like obviously a massively staged event, like most of these things are. Okay? And people don't ask the questions of what, if this guy's doing that, what would incite violence? It wasn't like it was a people getting together to talk about police brutality. People getting together to talk about government corruption. Those weren't the topics. Oh, we're having a giveaway. Oh, look, all these thousands of people went there just for a free chance at headphones and a Walkman. Yes, I know Walkmans aren't around anymore, but still. Oh, they showed up for free electronics, which they could probably get for free, you know, going anywhere. They're pretty much giving credit cards out to these people anyway. So, they all went there. And then instead of just getting free stuff, they all just had a hive mind and decided to riot. Nobody was like, hey, don't do that. Haven't you seen the stuff on TV? People are getting arrested for doing that. Don't beat the cop. I mean, cut me a break. Nobody. I mean, I know most of these people don't think who go to these events, but let's be realistic about it. right? 2 days, you organize this, thousands of people show up with, and they're wielding axes and throwing fireworks at police officers. Oh, right. Even though the guy didn't call on that. Interesting. This is going to lead to censorship, restriction, rights to assembly. All these laws are the next to go. They're the next to go. Internet tracking, right? That has to do with your social ID, what you can and cannot say online. But right to assembly is the key thing to watch. Who's a dangerous threat? Oh, this guy, this YouTuber is going to get thousands of people to go outside of, I don't know, some YouTube, let's just say. And they're going to protest. We have to stop it and arrest them because that's a domestic terrorist threat because they're a level 4 because of their beliefs and what they think, even though they might have went there just with signs to yell. Well, the things they were yelling hurt people's feelings too because their beliefs hurt people's feelings. You see where this is going? It's going off a cliff. And your government's leading our society off a cliff by design. And people need to wake up and snap out of it before you have no rights left. A reminder, I have a Patreon for anyone out there that wants to support this work. Obviously, all the stuff I've gone through on here has been brutal. I'd appreciate if anybody joined. And I want to thank everyone out there who has. It's very kind of you. You guys are great and wonderful. Just people being here from the other channels and taking the time to subscribe means a lot to me. So thanks, everybody. Hope you're all doing well. God bless all of you and your families.